Do you remember when Trump's professor from Wharton said he was the dumbest goddamn student I've ever had?
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Here we go again. It's still the same day. I'm still sitting in front of my computer, floating around just on X. I haven't touched TikTok once today, and I still keep coming across more and more clips. So, without wasting more time, let's get into it.
I don't know how to surgically or chemically mutilate my students with a sex change, but I do know how to use a tourniquet in case there's a school shooter and one of my kids is shot and starts bleeding out in the middle of my classroom. And I'm not teaching my students that one race is superior to another. But I am teaching my students how to use this door lock, just in case a school shooter tries to get into my classroom. All right, who wants to try next? Here you go. And I'm not teaching my students to hate America. But I am teaching my students to look around the room to see what they would use as a weapon in case a shooter did get into our classroom. Guys, the Chromebooks are gonna be the heaviest. I'm gonna use my Stanley. Let's practice this at our next drill.
The state of Oklahoma is now going to require new teachers to prove that they're loyal to Donald Trump before hiring them. Yeah, this is how crazy these MAGA lunatics are in the state of Oklahoma. Teachers from California and New York who want to work in Oklahoma public schools will be required to pass a certification test to prove that they share the state's conservative political values. Regardless of the subject or grade they teach, they'll have to show they know the biological differences between male and females and that they agree with the state's American history standards, which includes elements of a conspiracy theory that the 2020 election wasn't fair. They say that New York and California are teaching things that are, quote, antithetical to our standards. So I guess the standards in Oklahoma is conspiracy theory.
So I'm sitting there watching Trump's big announcement, and he goes and asks press, if you have any questions. Peter Doocy goes, hey, did you see that viral video of something getting thrown out of the window at the White House? Trump's like, what are you talking about? So Doocy shows him on his phone, and he's like, it's AI. What he said afterwards scared the shit out of me.
If something happens really bad, just blame AI. But also they create things, it works both ways. If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI.
So you heard it, folks. If anything bad happens, blame AI. Terrifying.
Why the hell would you choose to be transphobic when instead you could choose to act like a they them, dress like a she her, smoke like a he him, party like a z zer? Instead, you're over here jealous because your gender doesn't bend like the rest of us? Y'all make me sick. Sick to my stomach, fam.
We have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them.
I just want to clarify something really quick. I'm a 4th grade teacher and I've been a teacher for 5 years. I teach my students to lead with empathy, care, compassion, and respect for themselves and others. Every day that I walk into my classroom, my goal is to help my students build a positive self-esteem and self-worth. I put that before anything else that I do. So for our newly elected president to say that the education system is teaching children to be ashamed of themselves, it just confuses me, truly. I want you to know that as an educator, I will continue to empower you and make you proud to be who you are, whoever that is. In my classroom, you are safe, appreciated, and loved unconditionally. Period.
Two changes I'm making in my classroom this year. Fuck Trump and fuck ICE, free Palestine. I must say that shit again, free Palestine.
Okay, so I've mentioned this before on the channel. I'm not a big fan of, sending our children off to schools just for a teacher to feel that, I'm going to indoctrinate these children. I don't give a shit what their parents have to say. I think they should have my exact same worldviews. Now, this is a very short clip. It was originally 27 seconds long. I clipped out 3 seconds that had a song in the background. I didn't want to have YouTube nail me with a copyright strike, but the point still stands. She's saying it clear as day that she plans on teaching her students this. I truly don't think she's going to? I mean, doesn't she realize that she'd be pretty much well kissing her job bye-bye after a couple of days of, children going home and repeating this song to their parents? Where did you learn that? Oh, the teacher taught us it in school. But with these liberals, you truly never know. She might say, I have every right to do this. This is how I feel. I'm going to teach my class the way I want to teach my class, because they feel that's self-entitled. They feel during the hours of school, guys, they feel that your children belong to them and that they're going to have their teachings, not just when it comes to math, not just when it comes to science and geography. No, their worldview. It's very important that they get to push their worldview on our kids. At least this is how they see it. In their sick and twisted minds, they think that they're doing the right thing. Because, as far as they're concerned, people that are Republican, people that are conservative, we don't know how to raise children. I mean, when you look at our family pictures, don't we just look terrible and miserable? We don't look happy at all whatsoever, right? People that are on the right just don't seem to age as well as people on the left, I guess is what they're thinking, because from what I've noticed, people that lean right seem to age a little bit better. People that are on the left seem to look like they're about 70 years old by the time they're 50. But shit, who are we to judge them? It doesn't matter if they live a life of stress, anxiety, and all sorts of medications. They must know what they're doing with children better than we do, right? After all, this is why majority of teachers just happen to be liberals. In all seriousness, to you liberals out there, you liberals that are, consider yourselves educators that have this woman's same worldview, what you really should do is just stop and think for a second and really question yourself and be honest with yourself. If you are getting up and going to school on a daily basis and your main goal, your main function is that you think that you should be teaching your worldviews and your ideologies to children instead of actual curriculum, maybe you shouldn't be teaching anymore. Maybe you kind of got lost along the way and you're not mentally fit to teach children.
When I see somebody challenge gun reform but offer no solution, it frustrates me, especially when you're a woman with children. From mother to mother, I don't get it. You offer no solution and you would rather people be able to hold on to their guns. Countries worldwide have implemented strict gun laws, and in return, they don't have mass shootings. Imagine that. Scotland, since implementing very strict gun laws, they've seen 1. Since Canada implemented their gun laws, they've seen 5. In the US, we had 488 mass shootings in 2024 alone. That's more than 1 a day. You guys claim that gun laws don't work, but we don't implement gun laws that are nationwide. We leave it up to the states. So here in Florida, you can go buy a gun like it's a pair of sneakers, and you don't need a license to carry it. Now in California, the laws are very different. But why does the law matter when I can just go to the state next door and buy a gun? Gun laws will never work until they are implemented nationwide. And obviously, the way you think things should be done is not fucking working. So provide a solution and stop bitching.
So why are kids dying at their first week back at school? Oh, you know what's crazy and what could have prevented this? But America is so focused on banning transgenders in sports and getting rid of immigrants that make our country better, by the way, because they don't focus or they don't recognize that there needs to be stricter gun reform. And maybe if we had that, kids wouldn't be dying in school so often. Wouldn't that be so great? Oh, and since you conservative MAGA Republicans think that immigrants and transgenders are so dangerous, news hacks. The person that's shooting that school up was an American white male. Oh my God, shocker. Shocker.
So I know that we all know that we're effed, but do we realize how effed we are?
I think there's a lot of maybe unrecognized heroes in this event, along with the children that were protecting other children, which is really amazing to hear about. I might be saying too much, but we had one kid that covered up another kid and took a shotgun blast to his back and things like that, and they were helping each other out.
Little children shielding other children at school. during a shooting. That's amazing. They're deemed heroes. And we have adults normalizing this because that's what it's come down to.
Thoughts and prayers don't stop bullets. People were literally shot today while praying. We need gun reform.
This is going to be a long one. Thoughts and prayers is all that they have. It's all that they say whenever a school shooting happens, and they happen quite often. But this is an earthly matter, and we need gun reform and policy change. Your thoughts and prayers don't do anything. They do not help. They do not help. Again, this is an earthly matter. And on top of that, when you tell people, oh, we need gun reform, they say, no, I need my guns. Second Amendment right. Okay, I get it. But why do you need that many guns? I don't understand it. I genuinely don't. Well, I need to go hog hunting. I need to shoot deer. Why? Or I need to protect myself from the government just in case they take over. You won't stand a chance. I'll just send a drone. This obsession with guns is so odd to me. And like this whole collection, a whole arsenal of guns just to say, well, I actually got 2 AR-15s. That's how people talk about them. And that was my expression coming from Germany. Literally, people talking about guns as if this is like just some little hobby, as if they're doing a puzzle or something. That is so odd to me, and I don't understand it.
I don't care what the shooter identified as. They could have identified as a cat or dog. It doesn't change what happened. What matters is that a person with mental health issues was legally able to purchase a rifle, a shotgun, and a handgun. 3 guns legally. And let's be clear, they don't have to enter the building. They can shoot from the outside in and get to our children. Meanwhile, it is harder to get a driver's license than to stock up on deadly weapons. And let's not ignore the fact that we cut Medicaid, the #1 mental health provider for our youth. That was the safety net. Now millions of people who struggle with trauma, depression, anxiety are going to lose the care that they need. I don't know what gun reform looks like. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have the answers, but we can start with universal background checks and getting these men out of fucking office.
I can't go on vacation during Labor Day because I don't have that kind of money, but you know what they say, the best things in life are free, like rich people spending their money to go on a 3-day vacation during Labor Day weekend, so they're not in the city and it's like ghost town here. Feel like I'm in a new city. New York.
No one is coming for your guns, they say. I am. If you insist on it being black and white, I stand on the side of children, on the side of my daughter never watching her friend bleed out on the reading rug. I want our babies to live. I guess I'm pro-life like that. Or make sensible gun laws or whatever, but if you make me choose between our children's lives and your gun safe being well stocked, I'm coming for your guns. Let the deer run free. If you care so much about hunting, stop being a pussy and use a bow and arrow. My daughter struggles to sleep at night because her friend told her a ghost story 2 years ago, so she listens to a podcast starring Elmo and Grover that calms her down. She is the exact same age as those children were. How well do you think she would sleep after seeing her teacher get shot in the head? I'm sorry, you need a gun to feel like a man. The manly men that I know just go play basketball or work on cars or build stuff with their hands, but I guess the reliable and consistent murder of small children is what you feel you need to trick the world into thinking you're not gay. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Okay.
Okay, guys, you better watch out because she's coming for your guns. Now, she considers herself to be a leftist pro-lifer. She did say that she's a mother. She's got a daughter, so congratulations to her for not aborting her child away like most liberals do. But one thing you liberals should realize here, and realize this very, very clearly, because you like to say that we're hypocritical, claiming that we're pro-lifers, yet we will not disarm our legally armed citizens to protect the children in schools, because they're the problem, right? It's the legally armed ones that are going into the schools and shooting away. It's not people that are mentally ill. But if you guys really want to get into this conversation about pro-life, it's kind of hard to take anybody on the left seriously when they continuously vote for the party that advocates for abortions, for the party that had an abortion bust at the DNC. So people can get a quick abortion while they're there attending the convention. You see, it's kind of funny. You guys only seem to term pro-life after there's a school shooting, but you guys can use children as a political trophy. You guys always want to say it, that the #1 killer of children is gun violence. Yeah, it's high up there, but it's definitely not the #1 killer. You see, if we get truthful here and we speak about actual facts, the #1 killer of children is abortions. But the problem is, you liberals out there, to make yourselves feel better statistically, to kind of buff your numbers, you don't consider a child until the child is actually born. Like in the state of New York, if I'm correct, I don't know if it's still this way, you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you're not even considered a human being until you take your first breath. No, the #1 killer of children is easily abortions, thousands of times over. I would be willing to bet any liberal out there, if we were to make a deal and say, tell you what, you know what? We're gonna repeal the Second Amendment. We're gonna give up all of our guns. But the deal is, abortions are banned 100% from this day forward. And if you're caught performing an illegal abortion, 20 years in jail. We would still be fair. You would still have the 3 exceptions. Beyond that, though, if you just happen to be out at a bar drinking one night, and, you got a little promiscuous, and before you know it, 2 months later, you find out you're pregnant because you were not careful. So would you guys be willing to make that deal? Second Amendment goes out the window, but so does your rights to abortion? I'm willing to bet you guys wouldn't. How important are those children to you now? If you guys were truly all about the children, you would easily give up your rights to abortion. If what you guys say is true, that guns are the problem, and this would save the lives of everybody involved in a mass shooting from this day forward, why wouldn't you give up the rights to your bodily autonomy when it comes to your reproductive freedoms? So yeah, serious question to any liberal out there. Would you be willing to give up your rights to abortions if it meant that Republicans would repeal the Second Amendment, that all Americans that legally owned a gun would give up their gun? Would you guys be willing to do that? I strongly doubt any of you would.
I straight up do not understand the transgender is a mental illness argument, because at the end of the day, even if it was, what difference does it make? Like, for argument's sake, let's say it is. The consensus of the medical community is still that transitioning is the most effective treatment. So, end of the day, you don't give a fuck about their mental health. You just want an excuse to not respect them. Like, can you imagine pulling this with any other mental illness? Like, I hear Greg's depressed. I'm gonna be a fucking asshole to him. Yeah, that'll help. Here, Janet has OCD. I'm just gonna spread something sticky all over her desk. It's gonna drive her nuts. Are you psychotic? Like, straight up, end of the day, you can call it a mental illness and it makes no difference. What matters is if you respect people as individuals or not, which clearly you don't.
You're the desperate one in this conversation. You're the dysfunctional one in this conversation. We all know about transphobes. We know. We have one who harasses people in Guelph, Ontario. He's a fucking rapist. We know what you are. We know what you're trying to deceive us about. You're trying to deceive us about yourselves. And you're trying to get something out of it too. That's the fucking saddest thing of all. Cheapskate.
Okay, if your edgy hot take is that trans people are just delusional, that doesn't mean that you have a commitment to telling the truth. It means you have a commitment to being unkind. Because tell me why, if you think I just struggle with mental health, why is your response not compassion? Why is it not basic human decency? Why is it not respect? There was an interesting article that the New York Times posted a while back that talked about the best way to care for patients struggling with Alzheimer's. When they misremembered things or forgot them, as they often do, the right thing to do was not actually to just correct them. That caused stress and harm and caused their quality of life to go down. And in a hypothetical world where gender dysphoria wasn't real, your commitment to calling trans people delusional still just makes you an asshole. But while we're here, it actually feels more delusional to me to ignore biologists, anthropologists, sociologists, trans people's lived experiences, instead reference the biology textbook that you used in grade 6. The only thing that you're proving is that you're either unkind or uneducated.
I am non-binary. I'm not a woman. But I wanted to jump in and address this comment because it seems like you are trying to decide who gets to be a woman, who's a real woman based on someone's body, based on someone's behavior, based on whether they look the correct way, based on your idea of what the parameters of a woman should be. And I'm wondering if any of that feels familiar to how you've been policed for your entire life as a woman.
Okay, I'll bite. So please tell me the exact disorder, the diagnostic criteria, and what you recommend per the AMA and the APA as to what I should do about my mental illness. Please, I'll wait. Okay, I'm done waiting. So, you probably would have found maybe gender dysphoria, and if you looked hard enough, you would have realized that gender dysphoria can be experienced by all people, not just trans people, and is not consistently experienced throughout the entire trans experience. Next, you would have found a set of criterion that I would have needed to experience in order to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria, right? And lastly, you would have found that the AMA, the APA, and all major medical organizations recommend gender-affirming care for those who need it. So, mental illness would be solved, in my case, by transitioning. Thank you. You cracked the case, detective.
To assume that being transgender has anything to do with a sexual fantasy says more about what you feel about your gender than it does about anyone else. I'm not going to kink shame. If that's what turns you on, go for it.
Is trans a mental health issue? Now, me personally, I don't have the answer for that because I'm not a doctor. But I'll give you my opinion. If I'm rationally thinking, I would assume so, yes. But I do know steroids, and the most common side effect with steroids is roid rage. Now, what causes roid rage? Well, that answer is simple. It's a hormonal imbalance. Too much testosterone in the body causes estrogen. Now, anytime you add hormones to create your body to be something it's not supposed to be, you're going to have mental health issues. You're going to create a hormonal imbalance. Now, when it comes to steroids, nobody argues this. We all know what causes roid rage. We also know that it's frowned upon to give to children because it's dangerous. Now, in the trans world, they call this gender-affirming care, which is basically adding different hormones, creating a hormonal imbalance, which, if they didn't already have mental health issues, you're going to cause one. Anxiety, depression, and anger. Basically, roid rage. So if we're against giving steroids to children for the mere fact that it can be dangerous and creating a hormone imbalance, why are we doing it with children that think they're trans? Why are we trying to give them the same shit, just with a different name? Let that shit sink in.
Amy to give one single fuck that the person that committed the crime at the church in Minneapolis is transgender. Not a single fuck. Just like I've never given a single fuck how the person who's committed atrocities like this in the past identifies or what their gender is. If you are making that the focus of conversation while only offering up thoughts and prayers and no actual resolution to fix the underlying problem that causes these types of atrocities to happen, then not only is it disrespectful to the current victims and families of the victims in this particular situation, but it's also disrespectful to all of the victims and families of the victims and every past atrocity like this, as well as every single teacher, every single parent who has to send their kid to school, every single spouse or significant other of somebody that works in a school district. My wife's a teacher, and she called me in the middle of the school day the other day, and my first thought when I knew that she wasn't on her lunch or in her plan period was, today's the day. Today's the day it's happening. If you are choosing to focus on anything other than the problem at hand or the victims and their families, genuinely, shut the fuck up.
All right, this one's a little bit different here because what we have here is obviously a biological woman who transitioned into being a man. However, this individual, I'm going to try and stay respectful because this individual didn't just try and come out totally on the defense of the trans, tried to come out and say we got to address the real issue. So I'm going to try and stay respectful and not do any he, she things here. So if I do slip up, I apologize ahead of time. However, I refuse to call somebody something that they are not, but I'm going to avoid calling you what you truly are. And that's surely just out of respect for trying to stay level-headed in your video here. So what this person is saying is that we need to address the real issue. Now, this individual didn't say it directly in their video, but they're pointing out that, because they made the mention of thoughts and prayers. Where does that come from? That comes from people that are conservative, comes from people that are on the right, and people that are in this community here don't exactly like people that have any form of religion. I mean, after all, let's be real, you cannot live in the trans community and be religious at the same time. They just kind of conflict. But the bottom line is this, the real issue at hand here, it does boil down to only one thing, mental health. You people on the left can say it's guns all you want. If it's not guns, it's going to be something else. If somebody is mentally ill and wants to cause harm to a crowd of people, they're gonna find a way. If you remove guns legally, it's only going to be legal gun owners that give it up. There will still be millions upon millions of illegal guns in your streets. They will still be used in violent crimes. And what did you do? You disarmed the people that are sane, the people that have their marbles together. You took a weapon of defense out of their hands and left it only in the hands of criminals and crazy people. How does that make sense? The real issue at hand here is what needs to be addressed. There's no other way around it. You guys can sit in denial as long as you want. We have been screaming it from the rooftops on the right for years upon years upon years now. You guys truly think that disarming your citizens is the answer? You'd find out how wrong you are in a heartbeat. What everybody should be questioning here is, why is the problem so obvious but nobody is truly jumping on to try and attend to it? Why is nobody trying to truly address the issue here? Why are we not trying to treat these people? But that's it. On the left, they think that they are treating these people. They think by normalizing them. Because I understand, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You don't want to make people feel like they're discluded from society. But they cannot just be a normal, functioning member of society if they're heavily medicated, if they're suffering from a mental illness. They can't just be set off free into the wild and nothing bad is going to happen. The evidence is there. It happens again and again and again. You people on the left, including this individual here, need to open up your eyes and wake the hell up. All right, guys, that is it for this one. If you guys are new to the channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you have not hit it as of yet. If not, if you can like the video, share the video, or interact with the video in one way or another, that'll be greatly appreciated. Of course, I still have one more clip lined up for you guys. And until next video, you guys all have a good one.
10 Commandments are not being put in Texas classrooms to create a better future of America. It has nothing to do with the actual morals and values of the 10 Commandments and trying to instill that into children. No, 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 no. The reason that the 10 Commandments is up in those classrooms because it's the first step in indoctrinating children into this very specific kind of Christianity that Republicans love because they can manipulate it to fit whatever agenda that they have, and they want to implant these ideas early in kids. The fact of the matter is that these Republicans who claim that they want Christianity or whatever, they don't actually care about the aspects of religion that have to do with treating others like you want to be treated, or spreading kindness, or constantly leading with love, because their actions are not leading with any love. Their actions are selfish. They only care about religion from the place of knowing how much power religion has over people's life and trying to figure out a way to harness and manipulate that power for their own bidding. People who want the 10 Commandments in classrooms, those government employees, those politicians, they don't actually live out Christian values themselves. If they lived out Christian values, they would respect someone who is not a Christian. Even though Christianity has a long history of colonization attached to it and forcing its ideas onto other people, at its core, there's no part of Christianity that says go colonize the world, go colonize minds with these ideas of Christianity, because even if it was, it would be the ideas of kindness that are the most important and integral to it, and not the ideas that being gay is a sin and that you should go to hell for it. I don't think it's any coincidence that the 10 Commandments is happening around the same time that some dumb Fs in the government, like Pete Hegseth, are like, hey, I don't know any gay people, so can we revisit that gay marriage thing? Because I'm not quite into it. Think about it. Why would Donald Trump and his administration care so much about Christian values when they are all people who do not live up to any of them? Donald Trump has broken all 10 out of 10 of the 10 Commandments. Why would he care about putting the 10 Commandments up in the classrooms? It has nothing to do with values. It has everything to do with control and propagandizing.